My name is Claude Jan Kandem. I'm 21 years of age and I'm a Kenyan citizen by birth. I shall be addressing you this evening on the topic of positive attitude. When you talk about attitude, we are talking about attitude as a settled way of thinking about something or feeling towards something. That is what we refer to as attitude. Now, attitude is everything in life. Attitude determines your altitude. Okay? Everything we do in life and everything that has been done, there's an element of attitude behind it. Now the question is, how do you live a purposeful life? How do you live a successful life? Because sometimes we think that success is driving a big car. But we have people who are driving big vehicles, living in big houses, but are not happy. Yet we have people who are maybe even pulling carts or sell water using donkeys, and they live happier lives. This is all based on how we choose to perceive life. Now, when we talk about a positive attitude, it doesn't mean that life is easy. A positive attitude also doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to you. A positive attitude doesn't mean that there are times when you won't be sad. But a positive attitude speaks as to the fact that you decide to live objectively and see the good in everything, such that you become an optimist as opposed to a pessimist. Are we together? Yes. Now, I will quote the Bible, and in the book of Genesis chapter 11 verse 6, I quote as it says, then Genesis chapter 11 verse 6, it says that, behold, the people is one, and they all speak one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing that they have imagined shall be restrained from them. Okay? I want us to get something very good about attitude from that verse in the Bible. Now this was God, and God was talking about a people who had decided to do something which was against his will. And these people were planning to build a tower that got up to heaven. And the Lord, in his wisdom, acknowledges that what these people have imagined, I cannot stop them from doing it. Are we together? And it is because the most basic element of attitude comes from our mind. What we conceive to do, at the point of translating it into an action, becomes our attitude. Okay? The clothes we wear, how we eat, what we eat, is all connected to attitude. Because as we have said, it is a settled way of thinking and perceiving things. Okay? And so the Lord is encouraging us to have a positive attitude. Because then, if these were a bad people, or a people who were going to do something bad, which was against the will of God, but God still allows them or says that he cannot stop them from doing it because they have conceived the thought. It means then, when we think of good things about ourselves, when we think of good things about life, when we have a positive attitude towards life, a positive attitude towards our relationship with others, a positive attitude towards the things we do, then we cannot be stopped from being happy. Are we together? And so we are calling for us to be happy. And I tell a story of two brothers, John and James. And John and James were born to a father who was a very prosperous father. But their father had one weakness. Their father used to brutalize their mother. Their father used to beat their mother. Their father wasn't the best role model. Okay? He was a drunkard. He did everything that we do not expect fathers to do. But these boys grew up in that environment. And later on, as it is with life, then as we grow, we move from our parents and we end up becoming parents. We gain the responsibilities that our parents had over our lives. And we owe that responsibility to others. So John and James got married to different wives, obviously, okay? And they started their lives with their wives. Are we together? Yes. And what happened is they became two totally distinct persons, okay? John became a very loving husband, a very responsible father, a very responsible man, okay? Any woman would be proud of calling John a husband. And any child would be proud of calling John a father. And when it came to James, James was violent. He beat his kids, he beat his wife, he abused them, he did not provide for them, so he became the total opposite of his brother John. And one day, someone who had observed them and observed how they had grown up decided to interview them. And this is what he asked both of them, in separate instances, okay? So he went to John and asked John, how come, despite having such a violent father, despite having such a hard life, despite having a father who was not a role model, how come you still ended up being so different from your father? And this is what he said. With a father like mine, the only option I had was to become a better person. Okay? And when the interviewer went and interviewed James, James was asked, how come you're worse than your father? How come you're more violent to your wife and your kids? How come you're such a... And this is what James said. With a father like mine, I could only become more bitter. Are we together? This is where attitude comes in. I want to tell you today that John had a positive attitude. He was an optimist, okay? He decided to see the good. He loved his father, did not appreciate what his father did, and concluded that I'll have to become a better person because of how my father was. On the other side, James was a pessimist. He looked at the bad. And when you look at the bad things in life, then you become a bitter person. You only do bad things. You don't end up becoming a good person. And so he could only become bitter from what he had seen from his father. Are we together? As I'm saying, attitude and positive attitude is a positive way of looking at everything. You become an optimist. You decide to see the good in every situation. When you receive bad news, you first of all appreciate that in that bad news, there is good news and act upon the good news. Then, even if you have one pair of shoes, you will be a happy man. As opposed to a man who may have 10 pairs of shoes, but because he desires 20, that is pessimism. A negative attitude. That we look at what we do not have and not what we have. When you have one pair of shoes, then you celebrate that one pair of shoes because you acknowledge that someone else would want to have legs, but they do not have legs. That is positivism. Because life will never give you everything you want. But when you have something and use that thing to your advantage, it doesn't matter. And the thing can be as simple as your parents. The thing can be as simple as good health. We never realize how important good health is until we see someone sickly or until we ourselves become sickly. So it is very important of us as human beings, as we travel through this journey of life, that one will appreciate that only positivism is going to take us somewhere. I want to deliver to you this evening that you cannot have a good day with a negative attitude, and you cannot have a bad day with a positive attitude. And at the end of the day, all we want is to have a good day. Everyone just wants to have a good day. At the end of the day, you just want to feel that I've achieved something, I've done something. It may not be as much as I wanted, but I have done something. And that is what we are talking about, positive attitude. And so if you're going to live happy, we need to have a positive attitude. Then when someone hands us a glass of water, and the glass of water is not full, it is half, or the level of the water is half, we shall say my glass is half full, as opposed to crying and arguing that my glass is half empty. That is what we mean by living a positive life. That is what we mean by living a positive attitude. And when we live lives that are purposeful and we have positive attitudes, we mentor others, we inspire others, and they adopt a positive attitude, and the world becomes a better place. Not a better place just for myself, but a better place for you, a better place for me, and a better place for everyone. Thank you very much.